Good afternoon, Centerville High class of 2016. So Centerville High class of 2016, I know you're all very nervous. You're doing your college applications. I probably just triggered you because you're so nervous. We have brownies and Xanax at the front, and we have a whole bank of qualified therapists at the back. Breathe, take it easy. Okay, now, we have today for you representatives from two universities who are here to try to persuade you why you should go to their university. So please just pay attention to what they say, and at the end, you can decide which one you want to apply to. So first up is the spokesman for Strengthen University. Please give a warm round of applause for Sam Sampson. Hi, my name is Sam Sampson. I'm the Director of Admissions for Strengthen University. I'd like to tell you a little bit about it and why I think it may be right for you. Strengthen was founded in 387 BC in a grove of some sort of olive trees, I think it was, just north of Athens. We are based, we're a kind of a cult. We worship truth. This is our sacred value. We will throw anything overboard if it conflicts with this sacred value. In fact, the one act of sacrilege in our school is dishonesty. Our motto actually comes from, more recently, from Thomas Jefferson. For here we are not afraid to follow truth wherever it may lead, nor to tolerate any error, so long as reason is left free to combat it. Now, we take ancient ideas very, very seriously. In many of our classes, we assign this book by Jonathan Haidt called The Happiness Hypothesis. It's a book. What Haidt did was he read all these ancient texts, East and West, and he extracted all the psychological ideas, and then he's a social psychologist, so he evaluated the current research on whether these ancient claims are true. And it turns out that almost all of them are true, but with some interesting caveats. And so this reverence for the old, while bringing in modern science, really characterizes our pedagogy. So I just wanted to walk you through three of the chapters, three of the big ideas that permeate our teaching and our curriculum. So the first is on the uses of adversity. So Friedrich Nietzsche famously said that what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Now, this is a great truth. It's an idea that has occurred to great thinkers, East and West. Mencius, the Chinese philosopher Mencius, had an even richer statement of it. Mencius said, "When heaven is about to confer a great responsibility on any man, it will exercise his mind with suffering, subject his sinews and bones to hard work, and place obstacles in the paths of his deeds, so as to stimulate his mind, harden his nature, and improve wherever he is incompetent." So this is an ancient idea, a widespread idea. Is it true? It is radically, overwhelmingly true. There's a recent book called Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb, author of The Black Swan. And Taleb describes systems that have this interesting property, that they are anti-fragile. What that means is that there are some systems that increase in capability. They get stronger and better the more you knock them around, the more you challenge them, the more they face obstacles and threats, as Mencius said. And Taleb is very clear that he is not talking about this overused word resilience, which everybody's in favor of resilience. A resilient system is one where you can attack it, you can punch it, and it will not be damaged. Anti-fragility is more. You actually need shocks and attacks and criticisms. You need those things in order to get strong. What things are anti-fragile? The clearest example is bone. Human bones are anti-fragile. The more you use them, the stronger they get. And this is one of the many difficulties about going to Mars. If we send astronauts there and they're in weightlessness for 2 years, when they get to Mars, they're going to be cripples. It's going to be very hard to give their bone enough challenge and banging around so that they can walk when they get there. The immune system. Rates of allergies, peanut allergies, all sorts of autoimmune systems problems are rising throughout the developed world because we try to keep our kids so safe from germs. But our immune system requires exposure to germs. If you keep your kids safe from germs, you're going to cripple their immune system and guarantee a life of illness. Third, children. Children are anti-fragile. If you keep them safe all the time, you're crippling them. That's the theme of this wonderful book, Free Range Kids. It's a book that we give to you when you graduate because we expect you guys will all have kids eventually, and we don't want you coddling your kids. Give them opportunities to fail. Give them opportunities to get in over their heads. So at Strengthen University, we offer hard classes. Everybody doesn't get an A. You might even get some Ds. You might even fail a course. At Strengthen, we will not do anything to bolster your self-esteem. We will teach you skills. We will give you opportunities to succeed. And if you do, you will feel very proud of yourself. You will deserve your self-esteem. But we will not build it for you. We will give you no safe spaces. We do not buy Play-Doh and put it in safe spaces for students who feel threatened. We will never give you a trigger warning. When you are in a course, if the professor assigns a book, we expect that you will not be destroyed by reading the book. If it has ideas you don't like, we hope you'll object. At Strengthen, as I said, our sacred value is truth. And what that means is that we are very vigilant, that we never allow a climate in which our students feel they are walking on eggshells. If everybody's afraid of saying something, afraid that if they open their mouth and say what they think, they'll get pulled over by PC principal, as you see the fear on everybody. This is such a great episode. Really, you ought to watch this. That is just death for free inquiry. So we will not allow that to happen. So here's the most dangerous thing you need to know about PC University. Adults will not get involved in your relationships. Now think about this. What are you going to do if somebody insults you? What are you going to do if somebody uses a racial slur? What are you going to do if someone uses the N-word? Now, for thousands of years, up until the 1990s, students dealt with this on their own. They might fight back. They might shame the person. They might talk to the person. Since the 1990s, there have been speech codes that give adults authority to punish people who commit hate crimes or use hate speech. What I'm telling you is that we are currently fighting the Department of Education on this, and we expect to win. In fact, when universities are sued for violating the First Amendment, they always lose. So we do expect to win on this. And we expect that we will be legally allowed to stay out of your relationships. We expect you to handle it yourself. Now, there are exceptions. Obviously, violence is, of course, that's illegal. That's not protected. Bullying, by which we mean only it has to be repeated episodes that are threatening, that interfere with your ability to learn. And we have a relatively high bar because what happens over the last 20 or 30 years is every term related here, harassment, bullying, all these words get defined down so low that everything becomes bullying and harassment. That's what happens at almost every university in the country, not at Strengthen. That's the beginning of my presentation. I'm supposed to alternate with this other guy. So please welcome Chris Cradle. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Cradle, and I'm here to talk to you about Coddle University. It's a wonderful school, a wonderful, wonderful school. It's a very safe school. It's a supportive school. I urge you to come. We were founded in 1965 based on the ideas of Herbert Marcuse, who was a German sociologist and political philosopher. He came to America, fled the Nazis, did much of his work at Brandeis and many other schools. At Coddle, our sacred value is inclusion. We create a safe, welcoming space for all students, any color, any gender, any gender identity, whatever it is, we want to include you. Our sacrilege, the worst thing you can do at Coddle is blame victims. We will not allow this. That is a violation of our sacred value. We don't want anyone to feel excluded. We have very good justification for this policy because the works of our founder, Dr. Marcuse, he wrote this wonderful essay in 1965. It was published in a book, A Critique of Pure Tolerance, in which Marcuse explained why it is that things should not be tolerated if they impede the chances of creating an existence without fear and misery. Of course that's our goal. Don't we all want the world to be free of fear and misery? So if certain kinds of actions and speech impede the creation of that world, why should we tolerate them? Marcuse said that tolerating those sorts of things, that just strengthens the tyranny of the majority against which authentic liberals protested and do protest today. He goes on to describe what he calls liberating tolerance. Liberating tolerance would mean intolerance against movements from the right, because they are intolerant, and toleration of movements from the left. We will make space for any movement from the left, but we will not allow movements from the right at Coddle University. Our motto is, everyone is entitled to an existence without fear and misery. Now, let me tell you a bit about our curriculum. Here's our pedagogy. Here's the way that we structure our courses. We're based on a very simple psychology, which is that people are fragile. People are so easily hurt. Anything that upsets you could trigger trauma, repressed trauma, unrepressed trauma, trauma that you somehow put up there in the closet and then forgot to take down. There's trauma all over your mind and your memory. And we don't want to trigger your trauma. That could damage you. And this is especially true for members of the 6 protected classes. If you are a member of one of the 6 marginalized and oppressed groups, you are especially vulnerable. You've been traumatized and oppressed your whole lives. Microaggression theory teaches us that when people are repeatedly cut, these little nicks, these little insults, these little exclusions, they don't develop calluses, they bleed to death. And so we will not let you be cut while you're at Coddle. We will protect you. Now, don't try to do it yourself. That's very dangerous. We will protect you from aggression. We were so thrilled when the New York Times began covering the new movement to create safe spaces at Brown University. There was a debate between 2 different feminists, one of whom questioned whether the term rape culture was appropriate. Now, that's really a scary thing to say, because some people believe that there's a rape culture. And if you're questioning that, you're a rape culture denialist. And that is very, very threatening. And what Katie Byron thought was that this debate could invalidate people's experiences, because one of the speakers, if she says what she's going to say, that could invalidate some Brown students' experiences, and that could reactivate all of their trauma. So she created a safe space with Play-Doh and balloons, and I don't know if they had puppies, because puppies could bite. But this is just, we love this, and we're going to start doing this ourselves. In fact, I can announce to you today, actually The Onion just covered this, we just got a major donation to create a safe space. Okay. So, at Coddle University, we offer access to therapists 24/7. Just dial 811 from any phone. Or we have this new feature, just raise 3 fingers. Go like this, and we have sensors all around campus. Go like this. A therapist will be airlifted right into you. We are a campus-wide safe space. There is no risk of exposure to non-progressive ideas. You will not find it in our curriculum. That would be triggering. And speaking of triggers, we have our technology department's been working on this. We're just coming out with this. It would be ready for your class next fall. A smartphone app where at the beginning of every class, you enter the things that are your triggers for the day. That goes to the professor, and the professor knows what topics not to say. Now, then you actually have to forget that you typed them in. That's what we're working on, because of course if you type it in, that might actually trigger it. But we're working on that. And finally, a new deal. We have this fantastic new deal with the American Psychological Association and the American Bar Association. We find that our graduates tend to need a lot of therapy afterwards. They also hire a lot of lawyers. So we get you a 25% discount after graduation for life, 25% discount on therapy and legal representation. Because as I said, our motto is that everyone is entitled to an existence without fear and misery. In fact, why don't we all say that together? We find this is a very good community building exercise. So on the count of 3, I'd like you to please read that with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Everyone is entitled to an existence without fear and misery. Great, thanks. Okay, now I got to turn it over to the other guy now. Thanks. Okay. Okay, so at Strength University, I just want to keep telling you about our curriculum. I spoke to you a moment ago about the uses of adversity. I want to also tell you a little bit about this ancient idea, this great idea, about changing your mind. So the Stoics, the Greek and Roman Stoics, they were among the greatest psychologists. At least this is what Haidt says. After reading all this reading, Haidt found that the Stoics and the Buddhists and Jesus, there were a number that were just superb psychologists. So Marcus Aurelius said, the whole universe is change, and life itself is but what you deem it. Boethius said, nothing is miserable unless you think it so. And on the other hand, nothing brings happiness unless you are content with it. Of course, if you read Hamlet, you know there is nothing good or bad but thinking makes it so. So this is one of the greatest psychological claims and discoveries and facts of all time. This is the basis of most therapy. The Buddhists were particularly wise about this. This is a wonderful quote from the Dhammapada. What we are today comes from our thoughts of yesterday, and our present thoughts build the life of tomorrow. Our life is the creation of our minds. So it's the same idea, East and West. That's what makes it a great truth. Buddha continues. Look how he abused me and beat me, how he threw me down and robbed me. Live with such thoughts, and you live in hate. Look how he abused me and beat me, how he threw me down and robbed me. Abandon such thoughts and live in love. In this world, hate never yet dispelled hate. Only love dispels hate. This is the law, ancient and inexhaustible. This is arguably the greatest psychological insight of all time. It is the basis of cognitive therapy. Cognitive therapy is the discovery in the 1960s and 70s that if you identify all of these crazy tricks that our minds do to divide us from others, to magnify threats, to make us divide the world into good and bad, these terrible tricks that our minds pull, you learn the names of the distortions, overgeneralizing, dichotomous thinking, emotional reasoning, and you learn techniques for challenging them. We have worked cognitive behavioral therapy into our curriculum. It's part of our freshman orientation, basic mental health skills, and it improves your reasoning. Since we worship truth, we don't want our students overgeneralizing, doing black and white thinking, emotional reasoning. We want to train you to be superb, clear, critical thinkers. So we train you in cognitive therapy, which is the modern instantiation of ancient wisdom. At Strength U, we offer skills to manage your mind, including CBT and meditation, optional meditation courses, because the research shows meditation also calms the mind, opens you up to people and ideas. We offer you experiences to foster grit and self-reliance. As I said, we want to build those skills, not self-esteem directly. We basically are trying to prepare you to enter a world that you cannot control. And that was the great insight of Buddha and the Stoics. You will never make the world live up to your expectations. Better to learn to control yourself, to live in that world. Okay, other guy's turn. Okay, hi, don't listen to that nonsense. That's ancient stuff from a patriarchal tradition. That is just not true stuff. At Coddle, we're based on the idea that your feelings are true. Feelings never lie. If you feel offended, then you were attacked. We're very, very concerned about microaggressions. With microaggressions, you've all heard of them. Microaggressions are these questions or things people might say. They might not intend to be offensive, but they're often clueless, they're clumsy. But the point is, you know, if there's a fellow student who's Asian, looks Asian, and you say, where are you from? And he says, Seattle, and you say, no, I mean, like, you know, where's your family from? You're conveying that you're treating him like another. And that's a marginalizing experience. We cannot allow that to happen. We do not care about the intent of the aggressor. If someone has marginalized you, they have committed violence on you, because words are a form of violence, right? I mean, obviously. We will help you to see the constant daily violence that you are all subjected to, even when you don't know it. In fact, our scholars are discovering new kinds of violence daily. In fact, did you? This is a new thing. It's called stare rape. If a man looks at a woman lustfully, that often makes the woman uncomfortable. If she's uncomfortable, she was raped. And we cannot allow rape on campus. Therefore, no man can look at a woman for more than 2 seconds without positive verbal assent. At Coddling University, we will offer you no training in coping skills. It is not your job to change yourself. You should not. That's blaming the victim. We are going to wipe out microaggressions. You should not have to change. We have zero tolerance for microaggressions. Oh, I already used that joke. Sorry. OK, the staring. OK. We will give you training in how to use the law to eliminate microaggressions. We're doing a pretty good job of it on campus. But we understand that you're going to sometimes go home for weekends. We know some of you will go to Europe, or God forbid, to non-Western countries. And we know that people will stare at you. They'll ask you questions. I mean, it's horrible the way the rest of the world, except that I can't condemn or criticize anyone, but it's horrible the way you'll be treated. And so we have a team of international lawyers who are spanning around the world to stop microaggressions all over the world. So, we will also teach you the 12 most effective cognitive distortions. We will teach you. We find many of our freshmen come in looking at shades of gray. That interferes with the project of creating the world we want to create. We need people who are committed. So we will teach you to overgeneralize. We will teach you to do dichotomous thinking. We will teach you to do emotional reasoning. Because again, this is our motto. Now actually, it's really fun to do it the way we do it at school. Here's how we do it. We do it in it has to be a complete monotone, because no note should be higher than any other note. Okay, so we do it like this. So it's everyone is entitled to an existence. So like that. Okay, ready? Do it with me, loud, nice and loud. 1, 2, 3. Everyone is entitled to an existence without fear and misery. Great. So see, we do fun stuff like that. Okay, thanks. Okay. So the third principle I want to tell you about, we just talked about changing your mind. I want to just close with some thoughts about this third ancient idea, the idea that we are all hypocrites. This is, again, one of the great truths. Haidt says that it's found in every culture in which we have writing about the human condition. Jesus said it in the Sermon on the Mount. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? It's a great truth. Buddha said something similar. It's easy to see the faults of others, but difficult to see one's own faults. One shows the faults of others like chaff winnowed in the wind, but one conceals one's own faults as a cunning gambler conceals his dice. Did anybody here take a psychology class in your high school? Do you guys? So raise your hand if you've taken a psychology class. OK, great. Psychology is one of my favorite topics. I love it. I love social psychology especially. There's just a ton of research in social psychology. This is just 2 representative publications. But boy, if you want an easy effect to replicate, it's that we're all hypocrites. That we are incredibly good at defending whatever we've done and at attacking others. In fact, Emily Pronin finds that even when you try to you explain all this to students in the lab and you teach them about how biased we are, and they say, oh yeah, boy, everyone's so biased. But they don't take it, they don't believe that they themselves are. You can't train people out of this bias. It's really, really hard. So at Strengthen, we try to teach you to know yourself. We strongly encourage everyone to take psychology and also social psychology. We want you to know yourself. Of course, that was the ancient Greek instruction admonition. We try to teach you epistemological humility. We try to teach you that human beings are so flawed, so biased, so irrational, so self-interested. It's a miracle that we can live together in peace in a democracy. And even then, we have to be constantly vigilant because, in America right now, we're getting worse and worse at it. So we try to teach our students epistemological humility. You don't know the truth for sure. Don't be so self-righteous. Democracy needs the idea of some people arguing for this, some arguing for that. They push against each other. And if you have good democratic institutions and you have no violence, the net result is better than if one side simply gets to impose its will. At Strengthen, we teach you how to engage with others who disagree with you, and then how to actually influence them. Not just yell at them, but what would you do if you actually wanted to change people? So our freshman reading, before you arrive on campus next summer, if you enroll, we will ask you to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's one of the most important books ever written. We're trying to prepare you for viewpoint diversity. You are going to encounter people who think differently from you. Some of them are going to offend you. What are you going to do? You could charge them with microaggression and bring them up on charges. Is that going to change them? Wouldn't you rather actually change them? Dale Carnegie is one of the greatest social psychologists. We encourage our students to learn these techniques, and then they actually can work things out. It's beautiful to see. They don't just posture and preen on Facebook and Twitter. They actually talk to each other privately and work out their problems. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. We're heavy on the classics, the Dhammapada, the Sermon on the Mount. Of course, we assign the happiness hypothesis in every year, in every class. No, not really. But that's what we're preparing you for. In fact, we're also very excited about a new academic project that many of our faculty members have started. It just launched last week. It's a site called Heterodox Academy. We have about 20 professors who have been writing about the problem of the loss of viewpoint diversity in the academy. The academy has always leaned left, especially the social sciences, the humanities. They've always leaned left, and there are good psychological reasons why that will always be the case. But beginning in the 90s, most academic disciplines went from leaning left to being entirely left, 100%. In many departments, there's not a single conservative. In many fields, such as social psychology, Haidt tells me that in social psychology, there was one conservative. There's a guy at Bryn Mawr. That's it. There's nobody else. So Haidt and Steve Pinker and a bunch of other people, they created this site called Heterodox Academy, and they're trying to pressure universities to expand the conception of diversity. It's not just about race and gender and sexual orientation. Those groups are either slightly underrepresented or sometimes overrepresented. It's about political and viewpoint diversity. Those groups on the faculty are about a 10-to-1 to 50-to-1 ratio of left to right on most university faculties. That's a problem. So we're working on that at Strength University, and we can promise you a diverse faculty. 2/3 are on the left, but there are some libertarians, and there is about 5 or 10% conservatives on our faculty, which is more than anywhere else except Liberty University. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say about Strength University. Thanks. I hope you enroll. Thanks. Bye-bye. OK, so my closing thoughts about Coddling University and why it's such a great place for you. We're based on the idea that you are blameless. They are bad, but you are good. At Coddle, we specialize in helping you to discover the specks in your neighbor's eyes. Your neighbor's eyes are full of specks. We will help you see them. At Coddle, for example, we will give you all kinds of rhetorical tricks. Did you know that new scholarship has converged on the idea that racism is defined as prejudice plus power? I mean, it doesn't really make sense to say you're racist if you don't have power to limit other people or harm them. So racism is now defined at Coddle and elsewhere, at many top universities. It's defined as prejudice plus power. And what that means is now that we know about implicit attitudes, if you take the IAT, the implicit association test, now we know that all white people find it easier to associate African American faces with the word bad than good. Many African Americans have this too, but it's less so. But now that we know that just about all white people have an implicit prejudice against African Americans, and all white people have power, regardless of their social class, therefore, all white people are, by definition, racist. And all members of non-privileged groups, by definition, cannot be racist. They don't have power, regardless of their social class. So we give you rhetorical tricks like this that allow you to win arguments without having to actually engage your opponents. At Coddle University, we will offer you intensive support for your current belief that dominant groups are bad and your current belief that marginalized groups are good. We will teach you how to dispel hate with hate. At Coddle, we will prepare you for diversity in everything except thought. That's actually a line from George Will, but that is basically what the modern academy tries to do. In fact, I'm sorry, I'm stepping out of character here for just a moment. In fact, a report by the National Association of Scholars, they analyzed all the summer reading list from all the schools that have summer reading programs for incoming freshmen, and they found it's overwhelmingly books from the last 10 years dealing with social justice issues, race, gender, class, things like that. So the idea is before students come in, we want to really get them sensitized to race, gender, class issues, and then they're ready for further training. Okay, so at Coddle, we will prepare you for diversity in everything except thought. We assign a variety of books on race, class, gender, sexual orientation issues. The one older book we assign, the one book that's more than 10 years old we assign, is, of course, The Critique of Pure Tolerance and Marcuse's essay, Repressive Tolerance, that I told you about before. We also will give you microaggression training. Before you arrive on campus, we follow the UCLA protocol. In fact, all the University of California, their schools are just fantastic. Their schools are the most progressive. They are the leaders in new ideas to expand the concept of microaggression and to train students in how to avoid them. And we used to give out this book called How to Lose Friends and Alienate People, but we actually find that if we just do this, then that happens. So we're okay. In conclusion, this is our motto. Now, actually, just one last thing. So the way we actually do it, it's really fun. What we do is we want everybody to stand. So please stand up, put your hands at your sides like this, and then we'll repeat the motto with that monotone that I did. Okay, so everybody stand up, please. Stand up, everyone up. Okay, so please put your hands just flat at your sides and stay really stiff, straighten your spine. Okay, now, and that monotone really loud. 1, 2, 3. Everyone is entitled to an existence without fear and misery. Isn't that fun? Great. Okay, you can sit down now. Okay. Okay, well, that's all I got for you. Thanks. Okay. Okay, students, so I hope you enjoyed those 2 presentations. I hope you found them informative. And now it's up to you. Which school would you rather go to? Which school do you think will help you in life? Which school will lead you on a path to the kind of life that you want to live? Now, I must confess, I'm not entirely unbiased. I think the answer is obvious because your parents and I have been protecting you for 17 years. Why stop now? Thank you. Good night. Okay, that's it. Okay, and that really is the end of the talk. So